Thank you all for joining. It's one of those days. Let's start on our backs. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling out through the mouth. Breathe in deeply, nice and slowly. Feel the chest rise, rib cage expand. Exhale. Feel the abdominals sink downwards. Try to relax into the mat. Shoulders relax. The neck is relaxed. I know your knees are bent and there needs to be some sort of support of keeping the knees up. But other than that, everything else should be pretty relaxed. As you continue to breathe, you can start to bring more awareness to your abdominal muscles. So you can't exhale very passively, right? You inhale, and then when you exhale, you just relax. But you can also exhale and recruit muscles. So you can exhale and recruit your abdominals, drawing it down and in towards that lower back. Go ahead and shift into an imprinted position. So the lower back goes all the way down into the mat. Feeling that extra support with your lower back flush against the yoga mat or the floor. Inhale. And then exhale, go ahead. Let's bring our legs up. Anytime our legs are off the floor, we're going to try to be imprinted. That protects and supports the lower back. As you exhale, as you lower the leg, exhale. Inhale to lift. That made no sense. As you exhale, exhale. So as you exhale, lower the leg. The reason I mentioned breath first versus saying as you lower the leg, exhale, is because Pilates invented Pilates or created Pilates based on the foundation of breathing. As in he wanted the breath to come first and then movement to come second. So as you're ready to exhale, you lower the leg. As you're ready to inhale, you lift the leg. Maintain that lower back imprint. And now we'll try to lower all 10 toes, but feel free to stop at any point during the lowering phase if you feel your lower back come off the mat. So paying attention to what's going on with your lower back as you lower the toes to the floor. Good, last one here, nice and slowly. Inhale to lift, and then drop your butts. Drop your heels to your butt. Gosh, I'm saying all the wrong things. And now we're going to go into our shoulder bridge or hip bridge, whichever you want to call it. Slowly roll up inch by inch, feeling the engagement of the abs and the glutes. Simultaneous contraction. Inhale at the top, exhale. Starting from your shoulder blades, which are already on the ground. Roll down through your mid to upper back. Your lower back comes down. And finally, your tailbone in that order. Inhale. Exhale. Lift your tailbone up first. And then sequentially roll through one vertebra at a time. As you're lifting your hips off the ground, you're reaching your knees actively away from the shoulders. So feel that length in the front of your body. Inhale. As you start to lower, it's easy to want to just relax everything. Relax your abs, relax your butt. But try to keep the engagement in your abs and glutes until your tailbone hits the floor. Inhale. Exhale. Pushing up. And last time, lower slowly with control. Ab prep. Inhale. Prepare. Exhale. Nod the chin. Look at your knees. Reach the fingertips. Inhale at the top. Exhale, slowly lower. You want to move slowly in control with no momentum. Exhale. Contract the abs. Use that exhale to lift. Inhale, we hold. Exhale, you lower. Inhale when your head's down. And when you're ready to exhale is when you lift the head, neck, and shoulders. Again, letting the breath dictate our movements and trying to keep the breath as slow and deep as possible. There are times when we get to the ab series that we do pick up the pace of breathing a little bit. The next exercise we're going to do is the hundreds. This is our warm-up exercises. When we do hundreds, we're breathing sort of staccato pattern, a count of 5. But it's the exhale lasting for the 5 counts. And then it's the inhale lasting for 5 counts. Feel free to pick your leg position for hundreds. You can have your feet on the floor, tabletop, straight. Oh man, my hamstrings are tight. I say that every week, but that's because every week my hamstrings are tight. Then we have our diagonal. All right? I'm actually going to start with my legs vertical because I don't want to stretch my hamstrings. You don't have to pick the same position for the entire hundreds. So go ahead and lift the head, neck, and shoulders, stare at your kneecap, reach the fingertips, and pump. Inhale for 5 counts, and exhale for 5 counts. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 20. Inhale. Exhale. 30. Inhale. Exhale. 40. Inhale. Exhale. 50. Inhale. Exhale. 60. Inhale. Exhale. 70. Inhale. Forgot I was going to lower my legs at 50. Oh, well, we got about 30 left. No, we got 20 left. All right, last 10. Inhale and exhale. All right, so that is our abdominal warm-up. Should feel that there's some tension there to warm that section of your body up. But it shouldn't feel overly strained because it is, after all, still warm. We have our spine warm-up. So we're going to bend the spine in the opposite direction. Instead of flexion, this is extension. Lifting the head, neck, and upper part of the rib cage as one unit. Gently pressing into the forearms, fingertips to elbows. Exhale, lower. For now, we're going to keep the top of the feet on the mat. Inhale to lift. A slight tuck of the chin. A lengthening of the back of the neck. In other words, you're trying not to see any wrinkles in the back of the neck as we lengthen through the crown of the head away from the toes. I'm going to add some leg lifts here. Feel free to keep the feet on the ground, especially if you feel any strain in the lower back that doesn't feel great. I'm going to lift one leg at a time. Really going to squeeze my quadriceps, leg nice and straight, extending from the hip. Focus on the glutes. So the butt muscle really engages to lift that leg nice and straight. We're not going to activate those hamstrings because if you do, then your knees will bend. Think length over height. So I'm not focusing as much on how high I lift my chest or how high I lift my leg. Instead, I'm really trying to reach the top of the head away from the toes. One more time on each side. So 2 more chest lifts. Last time. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Your hands should be right under the shoulders, so go ahead and push yourself up. And stretch around the spine. Feel the separation of the shoulder blades. All right, at any time you need to take breaks. Doing that spine stretch is always a great exercise to do. Going to our half roll back with arm variations. Starting with the lengthened spine. We flex the spine, create that C curve as we roll halfway up. Keeping the arms forward and keeping the shoulders relaxed. Inhale, lengthen through the crown of your head. Exhale. There's a lot of imagination using Pilates. I really honestly imagine a string pulling me through the top of my head. It just helps me lengthen my spine from the tailbone. That kind of imagery helps me with Pilates. And here, as I round back, imagine there's something poking into my stomach, which really makes me draw my abdominals in to help create the curve, the C curve. Yeah, I'm gonna open up my chest here and add a little rotation. Not too much though. So my other arm is staying mostly in front. So there's only so much I can rotate before my arm starts to move too much. Take it to the other side. And look back and I look at my thumbs. If it feels a little dizzying to you to look back, you can keep your eye gaze forward and look at the front thumb as opposed to the back thumb. Up to you. Inhale here. Exhale. There should be a little bit more work felt in the abs when you do the single arm reach. It's just a variation, it's an option. You keep both arms in front the entire time. One more time on each side. Exhale here. Inhale, sit tall, exhale. Inhale, sit tall. Roll on down as slowly as you can. One vertebra. During the full roll up, you start with your knees bent. Inhale, arms, head, shoulder blades. Exhale, you can straighten the legs, push the heels out to assist with your roll up. Hamstring stretch again. Inhale, start to roll down. Exhale, place your spine down, one vertebra at a time, anchoring the heels. If you're doing the bent knee version, you pull your heels back in, or you can keep your legs straight, anchor the heels. Inhale, arms, head, shoulder blades. Exhale to transition into taking your spine off the ground. Stretch as far forward as you can. Inhale. Exhale. Again, the exhale has sort of two purposes. One is during the exertion phase, but as you exhale, if you imagine breathing a sigh of relief, that it also helps with relaxation into the stretch. So as we're inhaling here, we're starting the movements. Exhale here through the most challenging part of the lift. But this exhale also takes us into this relaxed hamstring stretch. I'm kind of no longer using my exhale for the abdominal work, but it's for kind of relaxing into the stretch. Inhale here, some work, not too much. But as I get into that half roll back phase, exhale. That's where my abs really kick in. And going into full relaxation as my exhale finishes. All right, let's do one more. Inhale, exhale, looking for smoothness. Every time you do the roll up, right, you can do it more slowly, more control, more smoothly. You can dive forward and stretch more deeply. So the roll up is one of those exercises that's always evolving. It's never a point where you're like, oh, I've done the perfect roll up. I don't need to keep practicing anymore. You just go kind of to the next phase and next iteration of it. I'm gonna bend the back knee, brace my abs, and we do leg circles with the front leg. This is all about stretching the hamstring, working the quads, getting range of motion in your hips. You can make the circle quite small. Okay, notice how big I made the circle here. Your goal is to make the circle as big as you like. That creates a little bit of challenge for your abdominals, but not so much that it like bothers your hips. So starting from the 12 o'clock, I'm going to inhale. I'm going to go out to the side towards you. I feel my hips stretching. My whole body is not tilting. I'm really stabilizing with my abs here. My other knee stays where it is. It's not going to open up to counterbalance. I'm going to exhale from the bottom, circle across the midline, over the top of my back knee, and back to the start. Inhale. Exhale. So don't go so slowly that you need to take extra breaths, but you don't want to go too quickly either. Exhale. Again, let your breath dictate the movement. When you're ready to inhale, you do half a circle. When you're ready to exhale, you come up from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Your abs should be very, very much engaged, so there's no movement, no rocking side to side of your body. One more in this direction. And we're squeezing our quads and our leg nice and tight, supporting that knee joint. Reverse direction. By the time you finish with 10 circles, 5 in each direction, your quad should be pretty fatigued because it's been contracting this entire time. Hamstring get a release here and a stretch as we near the top. And again, finding the greatest range of motion in our hips. Last one here. It's really hard to count when I circle this slowly. I think that was 5 in each direction. So we finish here, hug the knee in, relax the knee, rotate the ankles. You want range of motion, not just in your hip, but also in your ankles. Front leg to the ground, back leg up. I'm going to circle away from the midline. Exhale here, circle up across the midline. You might notice that your range of motion from one leg to the other or from one hip to the other is different. That's normal. We're going to try to be as symmetrical as possible, but we might not. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Reverse direction. You're also going to have different hamstring flexibilities from one leg to another. So my left hamstring is tighter than my right. So I feel like I can pull my right leg closer to my head. Inhale to lower. Exhale to lift. Inhale from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Exhale from 6 to 12. So I think we've all reversed by now, right? The last one. Good, hug that knee in. Rotate the ankle. Not a true rotation, because our foot mostly goes forward and back, point flex, but there is a little bit of lateral motion. So for the challenge, that was challenging. For even more challenging to the abs is having both legs involved. Your circle will not be as big. Press into the floor with your hands to stabilize your body. Doesn't matter which way you circle first, we're going to keep alternating direction. So you can go clockwise first. Get to the 12 o'clock and then go counterclockwise. Now, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. You're not going to be able to go laterally right and left as much as you did with single leg, but you can go lower if you like. So maybe it's going to be more oval. I want you to go to your limits, what's challenging for you. So go as far to the right as you like, as long as you still feel your opposite butt cheek on the ground. Or keep your pelvis level. One side of your pelvis should not come off the ground. And then reverse direction. And again, go as far laterally as you can without the pelvis moving. And then you can go as low as you like without losing your imprint. Sweep up. Good. 2 more times in each direction. Try to keep your legs as straight as you can. Squeeze them together nice and tight. Imagine someone's trying to separate your legs. So you got to squeeze your legs together. Extra. Feel the inner thighs. Last time, 1 more in each direction. Still breathing. All right, so hopefully you felt your legs, felt your abs. So let's flip over once again, give your abs a little bit break. Let's get range of motion in our shoulders. So called the brush stroke. We circle down and around. So the ending motion is a lifted chest, spine extension, fingertip reaching to the back of the room, and once again, the chin slightly tucked, head and neck aligned with the spine. As my hands start to reach forward, I can lower my chest and head, reach my arms forward, and then as I start to circle it back for that brush stroke, I do a lift with my spine muscles. Exhale, dive forward. Inhale, circle back, lift, reach fingertips, flip the toes. Exhale here. So getting as much range of motion as we can in that shoulder joint. Still working on the spine here. Open up the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Let's do one more. These are all variations of spine extension. If you don't like this particular one, you can always do another one. Do it with your forearms on the floor, for instance. Sit back and stretch. Let's go into our abdominal series. The more you hug your knees in toward the chest, the more it assists with your inference. Single leg stretch, or the ab series, I should say in general, is a great form of exercise because it allows each person to decide how challenging they want to make it for themselves. So for anyone that's dealing with maybe strain in the lower back, I would reach the legs higher toward the ceiling, and I would keep my head on the ground. If your lower back's okay, you want a little bit more challenge, you can strain the legs lower towards the ground. You can hug your knees in less. So notice I'm stopping my knees from coming in too close to my chest. And finally, you can lift the head, neck, and shoulders off the floor. But maybe you think, with my head, neck, and shoulders off the floor, it's too much for my abs. Then you want to pull your knees in a little closer. So you can make all these adjustments and have so many different combinations. So you can find the perfect challenge for yourself on how low you want to extend the leg, how far in you want to bring the knees, so on and so forth. Same thing with the bicycle. Hands behind the head and rotates. And again, where do you want your legs to extend? Higher, lower. How much do you want to pull your knees in? Less pulling in of the knee is more challenging. Pulling the knees in more makes it a little easier. Regardless of what you pick, your elbows stay nice and wide, shoulder blades are off the ground. Keep alternating your breath. I exhale here to the twist, and I inhale to transition, exhale again. You probably can't hear me inhale, but you should be able to hear me exhale. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Double leg stretch, same thing. You can start with your knees really far in, head, neck, and shoulders down. Extend arms and legs higher, more vertical, or more on a diagonal. I can come all the way in, a little break, or I can stop at tabletop, less break. Extend my arms and legs lower to the ground. And finally, if I decide I'm going to lift my head, neck, and shoulder blades, the shoulder blades will stay off the ground no matter where I decide to reach the arms. But the arms really shouldn't go past the ears. So if your head, neck, and shoulders are down, your arms can go a little further, closer to the ground. But if your head, neck, and shoulders are lifted, you probably don't want your arms too far back. Quite challenging here to maintain the imprint. Inhale, exhale. All right, we're going to scissors, which kind of looks like and feels like a nice hamstring stretch. It is. There's your hamstring stretch. Take an exhale here. Inhale, switch. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Head, neck, and shoulders can be on the ground too. Last pair. Take a quick break. I'm going to do a combination exercise with you. All right, I just want you to do a break. That was the basic ab series. I'm just doing a variation on it. Keep in mind all the principles I just talked about and where you extend your legs, angles, more vertical, a little easier, right? Because the weight is over your imprint. And then lower to the ground, a little more challenging to maintain imprint. So let's start with the warm-up movements. Do you remember this? Our alternate leg load. We did this in the warm-up. So why does this feel relatively simple? Because our knees are bent. Okay, and then from there, we're going to start to take our legs straighter and straighter, which means my toes are not going to hit the ground as much. So I'm slowly making my way to scissors. Now, if you recall, when we were doing the bent knee version, how my thighs go from 90 to about 45. So if our legs are straight and we're still hitting the 90-45, just looking at the thighs here. Just looking at the thighs, 90-45. That means we're not lowering our legs all the way down to the ground. It can be quite challenging or quite easy, depending on how you view it, right? Because you don't get to counterbalance your legs up. Now, let's say I want to keep the distance of my legs only about 45 degrees, so take everything lower to the ground. I would say this is a very challenging sort of flutter kick. Just low to the ground, separating my legs at about 45. Can you do it with bent knees? Absolutely. All right, so I want you to kind of play around with knee angles, whether it's straight or bent, whether you go really high, whether you go lower, or whether you go full scissor, or go back to where we started here. All right. Do about 10 more seconds of this. You can do any version you like. Up here, here, down here. 5 more seconds. Keep breathing. Again, just playing with angles, positions. All right, and pause. So see how like Pilates can become very personal, so that whatever it is you need, whatever challenges you want, you can make it work for you. Which also means that if you wanted to, you can make Pilates very simple. All right, so we're back to the front side. And this time I'm gonna lift both legs if that feels accessible to you. But you can always lift just one leg. Listen to your lower back. First thing we're gonna do before we lift the legs is lift the top part of our body with stacked hands underneath the forehead. What this means is we're lifting the weight of our arms. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Because we're lifting the weight of our arms, which is pretty challenging, it sometimes helps to counterbalance the lifting of all the weight on the upper part with the lifting of the legs. All right. Sometimes, believe it or not, it's easier to lift everything than it is to only lift one part of the body. You have to exhibit some restraints, some control. But if you just lift everything and you just contract everything on your backside, sometimes it's like, oh, you don't have to think as much. You just contract everything versus selectively contracting specific muscle groups. So here I am lifting both legs and the upper body and the arms. Again, my head is naturally already aligned with my spine because
My forehead's connecting to my arm. Couple more. Feel free to stretch. You don't need to do as many as I'm doing. Listen to your body, please. All right. Sit back. We have not done a plank yet. Just your pants if you need to. We're going to do our plank. So this is contraction of the body, targeting the transverse abdominis. Contraction without movement is what it is. It's isometric. So elbows underneath the shoulders. Tuck the toes under, reach one heel over back, and then the other. I don't feel my abs. I know my butt is a little high, so I'm going to lower my hips until I find that alignment. Ears, shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles all in one line. And then I draw my abdominals upward, squeeze my butt, stabilize the pelvis. All right, and now we're in our strong plank. 3 breaths, inhale, exhale. There's a lot of work even though we're not moving. We're finding absolute stillness. Exhale. 1 more breath, in and out. Good. We're gonna do some outer thigh work. So this is called a pretzel. I haven't done this in a while. One thing you want to do is, in the setup, is make sure you have a straight line from your shoulders to the hips to the top leg. So here's a straight line, shoulders, hips, knees, top leg. And then from there, you can put your front foot and then your knee. All right, so basically what you don't want to do is have everything like this. This hip needs to be extended. And then from there, stay supported through the shoulder. This is sunken, not sunk. And we're gonna lift the top leg because it's pretty much impossible to lift the bottom leg. When you lift the top leg, you're not gonna pull it forward. You're gonna lift it straight up. My front foot, my bottom foot, which is also in the front. The reason it's there is to kind of form this imaginary wall that just emanates from that front foot. We're gonna do our best to keep this top leg that's in the back from crossing that imaginary wall. Lift the entire shin off the ground, knee and foot at the same time. Stay strong through the obliques, stay lifted and strong through the shoulder. Hold the top leg up at hip height, push it back. So this wall that's behind me, kick. Not a full extension, not a full straightening of the leg. It's more about extension of the hip. Squeeze your butt, push, push back. If I'm looking at you in your face, you should be kicking away from me. The challenge here is to hold the leg at hip height while pushing back. And your leg doesn't want to stay back there. It takes a lot of work. It keeps coming forward, right? So you got to push back. It's kind of a pulsing motion. You know, I'm not counting. I'm just basing this on how painful it is. Okay, final version of this side before we move to the other side. It's a lower lift back forward. Lower lift back forward. And by forward, I don't mean to come through that imaginary wall. It just returns to where this lift was. Wherever you're lifting, there it is, push back, move back to that wall and lower. Let's do 4 more. I don't know why I say that and then I can't count to 4. All right, let's go. Hopefully you felt it pretty much in your outer thigh of the top leg. We do lateral motions to create support laterally for our pelvis. Our pelvis needs support front, back, left, right, inner and outer thighs. So that's what we're doing. So the setup, same thing. Get the elbow underneath the shoulder, look for a straight line from the top shoulder, hip, and knees. It's really important. And then once you've got this top leg set, then you can put your bottom leg in place. Okay, so you don't set the bottom leg. You set the top leg, and then you put the front / bottom leg in place as a boundary. I don't know what you want to do with this top arm. I don't really need a kickstand. I should put it here, see if it's working. I would say the most challenging part right here, the up and down, is that you lift straight up and straight down, because there's going to be a tendency to want to pull it forward as you lift up. That makes it easier. Our human bodies default to doing the easiest thing. We don't have to think about it, and our body will do the easier version of an exercise. All right, so let's try the going back. I usually flex my foot here just so I can, because it's easier to imagine me putting a footprint on the wall when my foot's flexed. But you can point it. You can point your toes and I guess jab your toe into the wall. And the most challenging part here is that you keep the leg at hip height. We're not lowering, we're not lifting, at the same height. And that when you come back, you don't come back and break this imaginary wall. You push back, feel your butt, feel a little hamstring stretch, but you don't accidentally come too far forward. See, I just came too far forward there intentionally. But you should be able to feel whether or not you're accidentally coming too far forward. Let's not forget about our shoulders. We're not really thinking about our shoulders, but sometimes when we think so much about our legs, we forget about the rest of our body, and suddenly we're sunken into our shoulders. So stay lifted here through the shoulder joint. My leg is starting to feel like it's going to fall apart. So let's do the last combination. Down, up, back, release. And by release, I mean it just comes forward again. Down, up, back, slightly forward. Yep. Returning to that original position when you first lifted it up. Everybody love the pretzel here? I just like eating pretzels. I don't know about doing this pretzel exercise. Let's do 2 more. Let's see if we can do it. Is this the second one? Y'all probably hate me. Let's do a quick stretch here. Knee over the opposite ankle. Sorry, ankle over the opposite knee. Gotta learn my joints. I feel quite a stretch here already, but if you don't, you can keep pulling your legs closer and closer and closer toward your chest. It's okay if your butt comes off the floor. This is a stretch. But again, if you feel a stretch here with your feet on the ground, that's it. This is your stretch. All right? There's no certain position you got to get into. When I start to lift my legs a little bit, I feel the stretch intensely. I don't feel that I even need to pull with my arms. It's pretty tight. We're not quite done with our pelvis exercises. So I'm gonna keep you on your back. And this is working the glutes, hip extension, hip flexor stretching. So not the sides, but position your feet so they're hip distance apart and you're able to create that straight line position. And then we're going to start doing our legs. When we lift the leg, it's really about keeping the right and left hip at the same height. If you want, you don't need the hands on the floor. You can point at your hips. You just know, oh, did my hip leave my finger? Right, you can tell that. Let's lift the front leg nice and high. Make sure the hips haven't hit. Flex the foot lower until the knees are next to each other. Where's that straight line? You see it? Reach up vertical, hamstring stretch. Straight diagonal line. Last time, bend. Did you have to push your hips back up to get it so they were at the same height? So just note that. I mean, this isn't like a test you can fail. But if you find that when you put
the leg down and you have to readjust the hip to get the same height, it means it did lower during that time. Your goal here is once you push the hips up and you lift the leg, that's when your foot ends up going back down, your hips don't need to be adjusted because they never shifted from the first place. They're at the same height and they didn't move the whole time. Bend, check. First leg again. You don't have to actually point at your hip. It's just a way of sort of holding yourself accountable. You can also have your hands down. Lift. I'm visually looking down the length of my body, checking my right and left hip. Lift, lower, and lift. I'm pointing and flexing my foot, like it's just getting some ankle motion. You don't have to, you can point or flex the whole time. Inhale, point, lift. Exhale, flex, lower. Inhale, point, lift. Exhale, flex. When I talk about breathing, the most important part is that you're breathing. So if you're exhaling while I say inhale, it's fine. As long as you're breathing, okay? These are just some suggestions of breathing patterns that Pilates has. It's not. All right, we're gonna do some teasers. It's a little bit of momentum. I'm gonna do there's a wide variety of teasers. So I'm just gonna do one version. Arms, head, neck, and shoulders come up. Exhale here to straighten out the legs and use your abs to curl yourself up. Inhale to balance on your tailbone. Exhale, ever so slowly. Straighten the legs. Roll down through the spine. When your shoulder blades hit, you can pull your knees back in. Head, arms. So the sequence is arms, head, shoulder blades, legs, spine. Inhale, hold. Legs and spine. By legs, I mean straighten it. Shoulder blades, head, arms. When I get to the top of this, I'm going to do some figure eights with the arms. Inhale, arms, head, shoulders, legs, and spine. Then the knees are keeping straight, your choice. The figure eight is a rotation. See how my chest and ribcage are rotated towards you? I'm making that figure eight, going to the back, or an infinity symbol, however you want to view it. Eight like this. Okay? And then inhale here, and then exhale. Legs and spine, shoulder blades, head, arms. You can go as slowly as you like, or as quickly as you like. I wouldn't go too quickly. You do want to get yourself up, so if you need a little bit of momentum, use it. But when you come down as slowly as you can. Inhale, arms, head, shoulders. Exhale, leg and spine. If you want to keep your legs straight, keep it straight. Figure eights. Figure eights. Inhale, exhale, roll down. I'll cue you through the breathing of the figure eight. Inhale, arms, head, shoulders. Exhale. Inhale to the right. Exhale to the left. Inhale to center. Exhale, roll down. Do one more time. Inhale. Exhale. Let's go. Inhale to the left. Exhale to the right. Inhale to center. Exhale, roll. All right, you're actually pretty fatigued, so let's do another final spine picture. This time it's going to be on our hands and knees. So wrists are underneath the shoulders. Knees are underneath the hips. You want to find a neutral spine, so flat back. Start by lifting just one leg. If you feel pretty stable there, go ahead and lift the opposite arm. If you feel slightly unstable, then practice and work on holding and finding stillness here. If you feel pretty stable in the spinal balance position, then you can add some movement. Exhale, round the spine, bring the
limbs together, the elbows and knees. Inhale, find neutral. Exhale, flex. Inhale, neutral. One more time. Exhale, flex. Inhale, neutral. Keep in mind, holding the spinal balance in itself is pretty challenging too. So only add that movement if you feel pretty stable. Extend the back leg, no higher than the hip. Front arm, about shoulder height. Let's make sure we're stable on this side. We don't always feel the exact same stability from right side to left side. 3 flexions. Exhale, limbs towards each other. It's okay if they don't touch. Inhale, reach, find neutral. Exhale. Inhale. Last time. Exhale. You can look toward your knees. That doesn't bother your balance. Or you keep your eye gaze on the floor. Return. Round the spine. Arch the back. Exhale, round. Tuck the tailbone under, drop the head. Inhale, lift the tailbone, lift the chest. Good, find neutral. Now push your hips to the left and look over your left shoulder, like you're trying to look for your tail. So this is a lateral bend of the spine. So it's not the rounding of this back, it's not an arching, it's a flat back, but pinching the left oblique. Now calm to neutral again. Now pinch the right oblique. So you're looking over your right shoulder, you're gently pushing your hips to the right, and you're looking over your shoulder. See if you can see your tailbone on the right side. So if you had a tail and you moved it to the right, you're like trying to catch it, the way a dog tries to catch its tail. And then back to center. So that's the way your spine works. And then there's only one more movement that we didn't do. You can either sit cross-legged or on your knees, rotation. Remember, all the ways your spine moves. Outside of neutral, you can rotate. You can laterally bend. You can flex, and it can extend. Extend is arching the back. Flexing is rounding the spine. Some days we just sit in flex position all the time, all day. So I try to every day get the motions that you can do in your spine. Every day, once a day, something. If you're naturally moving around, picking things up, reaching for something on the top shelf, I don't know, reaching around, maybe grabbing your seatbelt, like you naturally would do some motion like that. But just in case you are sitting at your desk all day, just make sure that you find some time to move your spine. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks so much for joining.